So let's go into the Yankees. The Yankees, obviously, they won against Cleveland, and I covered that in my last episode. If you guys can check it out, it'd be beautiful. They won against Cleveland, 2 games out of a 3-game set in the wild card series, both in Cleveland until, obviously won the series, moved out to Arizona, not Arizona, what am I thinking? California, Petco Park. We played in San Diego, and we won yesterday by a score of 9-3. Now, there was ups and downs. Obviously, Garrett Cole, he didn't have the best start. Lou, you are right. Hopefully, you're right, Lou. Yanks in 4, definitely. I would love no more than to see that. Seriously, Kevin Cash, and last night, I'm gonna talk about it right now. Actually, I was gonna get to it, but thanks for bringing it up. It's gonna lead me to another thing. It was a couple pitches after the Giancarlo Stanton homer, and he's throwing John Curtis. He's throwing at the hitter. I'm screaming at the TV. It's nearly 12 o'clock at night, and I'm like, dude, what are you doing? And, the Yankees and the Rays hate each other. It's been, somewhat of a divisional thing for so many years now, but ever since, whatever's happened, and, the thing's spicing up now, and CC throwing at people, and he was right to do that. After Romine got plunked last year, he was right to do that. But, ever since that, things have started heating up, and Kevin Cash has talked his fair share of trash. Aaron Boone has. So it's not really, that surprising, at least this point. But hopefully we do get the Yankees in 4. I would just like to see, I got to look at the brackets again, but I would just like to see, who we eventually will play. Obviously it's a 8-team playoff system, obviously before the season was implemented, or I don't know when they implemented that, but to be honest with you, I don't agree with that. I do not. Judge, Stanton, Higashioka, and Frazier, they all hit homers. Stanton, as Boomer and Gio said this morning, they're like, Stanton's the one that he is on, the hot ticket in New York. He's not on the field. He's, missed how many games with the Yankees, and then, when he steps in, he produces. He had a grand slam last night, which I was very happy about. Garrett Cole, going back to what I was talking about before I got into John Curtis, I said, Garrett Cole, he didn't have the start he had against Cleveland, but he still, did sufficient enough. The offense picked it back up. The bullpen did well. Green, Britton, and Sessa, surprisingly, Green and Sessa did well, but I really don't like them. I'm going to be honest with you. I like Green in 2017, 2018, 2019. 2020 and 2016 haven't been the years for him. It really hasn't. And I remember watching one of his first starts in Arizona. I wasn't there, but I was watching it at home, and, I'm just thinking to myself, what's this guy going to be? And Sessa was good that year, too. That was the year, I'm pretty sure, we traded for both of them, Sessa and Green, and what happened was, we traded Justin Wilson, and, I thought for so many years, it was this trade right, did we win this trade? And, it seems like a no and a yes, because Wilson's been with 3 different teams after the Tigers. I'd probably have to look it up, but he was with Detroit, obviously, the team we traded him to. He's with the Mets now. I'm pretty sure he was with the Cubs before that. I can't say for sure. But, it's one of those trades that's mix and match. But if you would ask me, I would probably say that we won the trade, not because I'm a Yankee fan, but in the case that, you saw some consistent stuff from Green in 3 years out of 5, rather than Justin Wilson, where he's, all over the place and all sorts of different, appearances where he, put out good stuff and he wouldn't, it's a whole different ball game. On and off start from Garrett Cole. Stanton, obviously, homered. Obviously, I mentioned all the homers. Surprisingly, with this stat, and every Yankee hitter last night, including Tyler Wade, got on base last night, and that's pretty good. He got Rockies. He played for the Rockies. I didn't know that. I honestly did not know that. I probably knew that, and I forgot that probably. But thank you for the information. No, not the chef, Justin Wilson. Internet's creepy and crazy at the same time. He might have been, but actually no, it doesn't say that he played for the Rockies. If that's who you're referring to, he played for the Pirates, the Yankees, the Tigers, the Cubs, and the Mets. That's who he played for. But I appreciate the engagement, whether it's right or wrong. Again, thank you for the engagement. But we're just going back to, this offense has really struggled during the season against the Rays. And, I go over this in football with the Giants, and I go over in in baseball with Jordan. Not Jordan. I do that in football. For those of you who don't know, my friend Jordan comes on sometimes, does the Yankees with me. But going back to my point, stats can really not tell the story sometimes. They could, say this, and then you watch the games or what's happening. And, there's been dry spots in the Yankees offense this season. But looking at the stats, everybody got on base. Tyler Wade had a walk, and I was reminiscing that at bat a couple of minutes ago. Obviously not on the stream, but, basically of, how my heart was beating in that inning. I'm pretty sure it was the ninth. If I'm mistaken, I apologize. But solid starting from Cole, and obviously it wasn't it wasn't like he was against Cleveland, but those solid starts will do, especially when you're facing a team like the Rays and your offense is there. But in those situations, you have to be a little careful, especially with maybe a good offense, and your teammate or may not hit. So that's what I have to say upon that. Blake Snell, honestly, if I'm gonna go on looks wise, he looked like he got beat up in the face before the game last night. It's like he's got eye bags. I don't mean to make fun of his appearance, but I do at the same time because he said a lot of bad stuff about the Yankees in the past. But he got hit pretty hard last night. And he got the loss. First loss of the postseason. And then they put in Thompson, then Drake, then Curtis. And I was screaming at the TV for that one. And then McClanahan, or Sean McClanahan, or whatever the hell his name is. That's a long name right there. But what really surprised me is they put in Deivi Garcia a couple of days ago. They said, okay, he's going to start game 2. If you ask me, and I said this a couple podcast episodes ago before the playoffs even started, I said, look, would I put Deivi Garcia on the roster? Yes, because, you need to show him the big moments. And if he's going to be on a competitive team, and if you guys believe in him, you're going to have to put him in some of those moments. But do I believe starting him? We'll see. Do I believe starting him was right? I will say no at first, but I will be willing to change my mind. Other than that Boston start, he was pretty good. And if I can find the stat paper here where shows his start, I apologize. We also got Tanaka tomorrow, along with Charlie Morton. So that's going to be a pretty good matchup as well. They have depth in the rotation. It's on and off on occasion with the starters there. You got Blake Snell, you got Tyler Glasnow, and you also have Garrett Cole. But, they have Charlie Morton, and, pretty good starts. Pretty good starters, just, by name. Pitching, obviously, comes down to the stats and what they do in those starts. But for us Yankees fans, we don't have that number 3 right now. And, that's going to be something we're going to look in the offseason for. Whether it's going to be Deivi Garcia, and a couple podcast episodes ago, I said, look, Deivi Garcia and Clark Schmidt, this was the Miami series. I said, look, whether we make the playoffs or not, I mean, obviously we clinched at that time, but whether, both of those guys make the playoffs in the roster, I should say, it's going to be a test for them. Can they step up in the big moments and then pitch for the team next year, providing everything is normal? Because they're not going to bring back J. Happ, Paxton, Tanaka on the same bunch. You're still paying Garrett Cole. You're still paying Giancarlo Stanton. So it's really going to be interesting. It's going to be interesting, but I definitely think, I would have to look at the free agent pitchers, but definitely at some point, you have to really trust your young guys, because a lot of the Yankees decisions the last couple of years have been more for that, free agent pitcher or maybe for that pitcher at the deadline. That's what they have done in the case that, they're trading away prospects also as well. I mentioned this a couple of podcasts ago and, a couple of times actually. When the Yankees made a trade at the deadline starting 2017 and moving forward to 2019, there was not necessarily a deadline in the case that, when they acquired Paxton. But what I said was, it seems like, thank you for the 100 whistle, Janie. Appreciate it. What I was saying is that Sonny Gray didn't work out a year after. So it's kind of like milk or ice cream. You buy it and then you leave it in for a year. I don't know. It's a really weird comparison, but if you get my flow in the point, J-Hap, he was acquired in 2018, did not do good the year after. James Paxton, the same thing here. He's not coming back. So, my friend Sal, who works for All New York Sports, he made an article that said Paxton and Tanaka stay or go. My point is, obviously Tanaka had a rough start in Cleveland, but, you can't say that the rain did not affect that. You can't say that. Because, other than that start, he's been pretty sufficient in the MLB playoffs, I must say that. But you definitely, we're going to see some things tonight and tomorrow night with Deivi Garcia and Tyler Glasnow. Glasnow's been on and off on his starts this season. It's been, this, that, and the other thing. Obviously, he was in that Chris Archer trade, so I would have to further evaluate on a Rays standpoint who won. But for Game 3, you got Tanaka and you got Charlie Morton. So that's going to be an interesting matchup. Obviously, looking at it from an outsider standpoint, and if you're a broadcaster, you'd probably say, the Rays have the advantage on the pitching standpoint and the pitching aspect because Deivi Garcia has never pitched in a playoff game, and Masahiro Tanaka has, and it's, down to 3-2. So, it's going to be interesting what they, pull. And the Yankees offense definitely has to be there, especially, with the pitching that Charlie Morton can bring to the table, and the same with Glasnow when he has a good day. But, at the same time, the Yankees can be the Yankees and lose the unexpected. So, let's get into the Giants now. Now, if you guys didn't know, obviously, there's a lot of Giant fans that follow my podcast, look at my takes, and just know my general views and how I go about this thing. So usually I will recap the game in a video on YouTube after the game, and I will usually go down to the positives and the negatives on the Tuesday. So obviously that's today. Let's go through it. So for the Giants, I have more positives than negatives, but that doesn't mean that there's negatives, let's go with quality and quantity for this one here. So let's just say, you have three small positives, right? They're small though. And then you have one big negative. That's basically what I'm doing here. So let's start out with Tay Crowder. Now, I did not expect him to play as much as he did. If we're going to look at the snap count, which I actually have, Tay Crowder, let's see, 58% of the snaps. So that's really, a good chunk compared to last week. I barely even remember seeing him last week against the 49ers. Probably mostly special teams, but, he's a speedy run-stopping linebacker. He's good in zone coverage, as we did see against the Rams. He had an interception almost, but a lot of people, like to dispute, oh, that was an interception, that was not an interception. But, to put it there, obviously, it was, not an interception. The ball hit the ground according to referees. But Dean Blandino, the Fox analyst, the rules analyst, said, I don't know if this is going to be overturned. I don't think it can be. But, obviously the odds went against him. And from then on out, obviously it wasn't an interception. So, also, James Bradbury and Blake Martinez, very good on defense. We didn't really call out their names in a bad way. James Bradbury, yeah, maybe he should have gotten the tackle in the secondary on the Cooper Kupp touchdown, but Julian Love should have really had Kupp there. I'm not expecting Julian Love to go out there and make a star of himself and cover wide receivers. He is a converted, cornerback to safety. But you have to just, at that time, and I get that the offense was boring, the offense was dull, and I'm going to get to that in a minute. But I get that, but you have to make those plays. You can't make those mental errors because he basically ran a angle route and, off to the races. That was the longest touchdown, obviously, on the day and whatever and whatnot. But basically, that was one of the mistakes on defense, probably of many. I would have to go back and watch the film for it. Thank you, Max, at All New York Sports for joining the broadcast. Appreciate it. Going back to what I was saying, though, those are mental mistakes you can't afford to make. Kyler Fackrell, he got to the QB. I said in my recap video, it seems like every 2 games he's good. It seems like every 2 games he's good. We saw him get a sack on Mitchell Trubisky in the first drive of the Bears game. Obviously, they didn't do much, or it did, if you want to classify it as that, because they scored on that same drive. I'm pretty sure it was the opening drive. If it wasn't, then it was probably one of the later drives. I don't know. But he got to the QB. He made also 2 key tackles, so that was good there. Austin Johnson had a good game. Pro Football Focus rated him as like the highest graded Giants defender. Now, if you guys follow me, if you guys rock with me, you guys know that I'm not a big Pro Football Focus fan because, a lot of their takes interject in what their grades are and they use a lot of bias. That's my opinion. You don't have to, go by it and say, oh, well, he's a PFF hater. Everybody has an opinion. But I solely feel that they're based on, more of takes. Again, they do analytics. I don't really do analytics in the case. I don't do grades. I don't do that. They do that. But a lot of, the Fox Sports Sportscastr is the one who does shows like Skip and Shannon and also Colin Cowherd. They rely on Pro Football Focus as if they know the analytics, which they really don't. They really just get them on the show for hot takes. That's what all Fox Sports is, unfortunately. We saw Matt Peart. Now, I have to look at the snaps he did play. I know Bobby Skinner did do a breakdown on, what happened on those snaps. Do I think it's time to start him? And I'm going to evaluate this in a minute, but I'm going to get to it now, actually. Will Hernandez has really struggled in the last couple of weeks. I must say that. He's really struggled, and it's going to get to that point where they say, okay, it's 3 years. Where has your, play been? And, unfortunately, some second-round picks, first-round picks, they don't get to be, what they're expected to be. Everybody was talking about when he was drafted, Will Hernandez, oh, he's going to be, Chris Snee, the push, the aggressiveness, as many would say, a lot like Chris Snee. Well, he hasn't shown it. And last year, he really, took a dip. His run block grade went down to, I believe, a 46.3 by Pro Football Focus. And, again, I don't rely on Pro Football Focus. It's more of like a reference thing. But, at some point, you're going to have to put in Peart for Fleming. At some point, you're going to have to put in Shane Lemieux. And I'm probably missing somebody, but, you really have to evaluate. And when you're 0-4, and let's just say, in the next couple of weeks, they maybe squeak out 2 wins. So the bye week is, I believe, week 12. Let's just say it is week 12. Actually, it's week 11. So up to that point, you are about 10 games in. So if you do the math, Giants, 2-8. They squeeze out maybe an unexpected win. They also squeeze out a win against the Washington football team, let's say. I don't know. I don't know if they will because, the defense is good. The offense just, can't do anything. But, if you're 2-8 the deadline, why are you still playing Fleming? It just doesn't make a lot of sense. You're going to, put a stopgap in there. At least give Matt Peart the time. Same thing with Shane Lemieux. He was in one snap as a fullback, which is really interesting to me, but again, not surprising. Ryan Lewis played solid at cornerback too. Listen, all the Giants fans are going to say, oh, we played good at cornerback too. Yeah, I know that, and I saw that. There was like maybe 1 or 2 receptions he gave up. I think he was 2 for 5 when it came to like completions against him. I think that was 40%. 2 completions on 5 targets, which is really good. It had like a 62 rating, passer rating or a quarterback rating, whatever. Bruce is really good, but we have to see more than one game from him. I'm not gonna say that he's cornerback 2 of the future. No. If the Giants were smart next year, whether you have Gettleman, which is probably not going to be the case, or you're going to have somebody like, I don't know, let's go with, I don't know, another general manager, Kevin Abrams, draft a corner. I know how many times, everybody's saying, get this guy in free agency. Well, you need something long-term. And James Bradbury's not going to be corner 1 forever. He's not. Let's just, cut down to that. Let's cut down to that. But definitely he's played more solid than Darnay Holmes has in the amount of games, which Darnay Holmes actually played pretty good against the Rams. We didn't really see him a lot. His snaps went to 58%, so same as Tate Crowder, actually. But, you weren't calling his name in a bad way. You really weren't. I mean, he was lined up in the slot a couple of times, but, again, you weren't calling his name in a bad way. You did that against the Steelers. You get it? You did that against the Bears. You did that against the 49ers. Not much bad here, so that must say something. Nobody's saying that he was horrible. Darnay Holmes played good. Aaron Donald was held to half a sack. I don't know how that's possible, but we, somehow held him. Pro Football Focus, again, third time I'm referencing them, but I mentioned already, you guys get my spiel on them. Held them under a 70 grade, which is actually pretty good in our standards because we didn't allow him to do much at the line. Our offensive line obviously gave him 4 sacks. I'll get to that in a little bit. But obviously he didn't get into the backfield and make like any monstrous, impact plays. Let's see what else. The running game got going. Other than Daniel Jones and Wayne Gallman being our leading rushers, 6 carries, 45 yards for the both of them. Devontae Freeman, got his chances, 11 carries, 33 yards. Deion Lewis had 1 carry for 10 yards. That's just a positive to go in the run game. They finally started run blocking, maybe against the right team. I don't know. But, next week in Dallas is going to be a real test for this team because Dallas has one of the worst defenses in the league. Mike Nolan is defensive coordinator. He was actually defensive coordinator when Stacey Dillard was the defensive tackle. Why I mentioned Stacey Dillard? Because I interviewed him back a couple of months ago, back in April when everything was pretty much dead, and I started interviewing people, and that's just a point to make. Damian Ratley, he's made appearances in 4 games. I really haven't seen him much, but the last game he had like 2-3 receptions, which is really good for him. I'm starting to go a little bit of a positive, but the confidence, it's just like let's see what else. Dalvin Tomlinson was there. He tipped the pass, I believe, and made a couple of key plays. There were 2 straight plays where the Rams had a run play and Dexter Lawrence and Marcus Golden basically met, I think it was Darrell Henderson at the line of scrimmage. They met him like this, and then it was the next play where Jared Goff was trying to throw a screen. He was under pressure, threw it to Cooper Kupp, and then he was met behind the line of scrimmage about 1 or 2 yards back. So impact plays from Golden and Lawrence. At that time, Kyler Fackrell and O'Shane Ximines was injured. Were injured, I should say. I don't know any word on Ximines, but, he hasn't gotten a sack this season. Doesn't mean he hasn't made impact, but, it's just not out there. Lorenzo Carter, he's pretty much, I guess disappeared from the last game and the game before that. So we'll see what happens there, but, I'm not getting my hopes up like I did last year about Lorenzo Carter. I know Patrick Graham's good with the linebackers, but, he's the defensive coordinator, not the linebackers coach. Let's go into the negatives. Offense could not get going. I said this on Twitter during the game. I said, it seems that every turnover the Giants have had this season in their favor. Deontay Johnson's muffed punt. The James Bradbury interception. The Julian Love interception. No turnovers in week 3, so, that wasn't anything. Excuse me. I apologize for that. The Austin Johnson turnover where he forced a fumble and Gerald Everett. What happened there? All field goals. There has to be some level where Joe Judge recognizes what Jason Garrett and the offense is doing. They're not producing. Because if the Giants had a decent offense, they would be leading the division right now. And I'm going to say that because you only need so much of an offense in this day, and it could flip that other way too, where you need only so much of a defense. But the other way has to work definitely to actually be a contender. Now, am I saying the Giants are immediate contenders? Absolutely not. If they had an average offense, absolutely not. That's what they had in 2016, where they were like one of the worst offenses in the league. But that's a whole different story, whole different coach, whole different staff. But my point is, the offense, not 9 straight. Wow, what am I doing? 2 straight games, 9 points. And, you're facing tough defenses the first 4 games against tough defenses. What are we doing here? It's been 16 days since Deion Lewis scored a touchdown, since the Giants scored a touchdown. So something's wrong there. And, the offensive line hasn't done well. The second half, it only gave up 1 sack. First quarter and the second quarter gave up 4 sacks, so not good, not bueno. Andrew Thomas did struggle in that game. Cam Fleming as well. Pretty much everybody struggled, but I liked Nick Gates' fight against Aaron Donald. That showed he had guts, and everybody was memeing after, who wants to start a fight with Aaron Donald? Shut up. Honestly, it's only the Giants. It's only the Giants that would get memed. I mean, I'm not saying other teams won't, but it's just stupid. It's just stupid. Daniel Jones, pocket awareness. There was the second half sack where he took it from, I believe, Michael Brockers or maybe Samson Ebukam. I believe it was Michael Brockers. And, that was just a pocket awareness play. He wasn't feeling the rush to his blind side, and he was moving, and, he just got sacked. And he was trying to move to the right, got sacked. And most of the other times, it was, him getting hit, him getting sacked. And, not all those were his fault. The offensive line hasn't been playing well. And, if there's a problem, and there is a problem in that equation, if you're limiting Aaron Donald and the Rams' defensive line is still getting to you, that's a problem. Because even though they have Leonard Floyd, they have Morgan Fox, they have Samson Ebukam, Michael Brockers, those guys are impactful. But they're not Aaron Donald. And if you're not giving up sacks to Aaron Donald, you shouldn't be giving up sacks to them. And I'm not saying, don't give up a sack and be a perfect offensive line. No, that's not what I'm saying. What I'm saying is, you limit the most powerful player on their defense. But then again, some of the weaker players than Aaron Donald is, you're allowing sacks. It just doesn't make a lot of sense. And I'm not expecting this O-line to be up to par. But it just didn't make a lot of sense now that I think about it. Interception at the end of the game. No bueno. I get it. Daniel Jones was trying to make a fantastic play and be the hero of his own story. But in that situation where you have yards in front of you, you have to make it work. And you still had a lot of time on the clock. I don't remember how many seconds to be exact. But no timeouts. Yeah, I get it. But you can't make that throw. You can make the throw in the case that, it's better ball placement towards the sideline, maybe, if you want to do that. But, you have to read it better. And one of his problems is that he stares down the receiver too long, knowing, I got to get this guy and he's my main target. But the defense is also reading that he's going to go to that receiver. So, a couple of tight throws that he made, pass breakups, going back to the Ingram interception last game, wasn't good. So, pretty much that goes along with the interception thing, and that pretty much. And also another thing, more run play action, please. Run pass option, whatever. Start doing that more, because obviously he completes a pass, on most of those. And, quick passes, maybe get that more involved. Go downfield. It doesn't hurt, Jason. I get the offensive line is kind of, holding the offense hostage right now. But at the same time, you have to coach better. You have to work better. You have to, coordinate the offense better. Your buddy, Mark Colombo, is the offensive line coach. I'm not saying it's all Colombo's fault that this offensive line isn't where it's at right now. But, just have to be better. You just have to be a better coordinator. and, figure it out. You did it in Dallas. The offensive line was shabby for a couple of years there. Then they finally fixed it. It's starting to break down again because La'el Collins, he's out, and a couple of other guys are not playing to their expectations. The only guy on there, playing as well as, expected is Zach Martin, and he's the, all-pro, Pro Bowl guard out of Notre Dame, but that's not my point right now. So let's go for points to make. I'm also going to go over the snap counts. I did a little bit earlier. I'm going to go through it after I make the points. Should start to see Matt Pert and Shane Lemieux more. Look, obviously, I said this at the beginning. I'm going to say it again. If you're 2-8, or if you're worst record, or if you're 3-7, 3-7 is optimistic. 4-6 is somewhat optimistic, more optimistic. But, if you can't squeeze out the easy wins, it's going to be, a real hellhole. And, when you're really evaluating, you need to see Matt Parrott and Shane Lemieux. And, everybody's talking about, get Penei Sewell out of Oregon. Yeah, you know what? It doesn't hurt to get a good offensive lineman. It doesn't hurt to get one of the best players in the draft. Yeah. Let's stack wide receiver. Let's, let Matt Pert get a chance, because you're wasting a draft pick that way. If you're going to draft a career backup, draft him in the 5th, 6th, 7th round. Those are the backup rounds for that. Sign an undrafted free agent. Sign one of those. But, I feel that 3rd-round picks have value, and Matt Parrott could be, a decent right tackle in the growing years. Shane Lemieux, the same thing. Tough, hard-nosed. Nobody's saying over here, nobody's going out there and saying, draft over Shane Lemieux. No, nobody's saying that. They're saying it over Parrott because, they want the offensive line to be perfect. And trust me, would I love a perfect offensive line? Yes, I know. But you have other positions you have to address. Personally, my opinion, it depends on how this year ends. If you're maybe a step away from competing, I would say you go after Jamar Chase. If you're in the top 10, you go after Jamar Chase. If not, you go after another wide receiver. I think there's one out of USC that everybody's getting all hyped about. It's not Pittman. Obviously, he was drafted this year, but it's another one that everyone's getting hyped about. But my point is, it's evaluation, and what this year ends on is going to be what they go out and, possibly do in the draft. And that's why the tanking is all bullshit, in my opinion. That's why I say that, because, tank for draft picks. You don't know who you're going to draft, and if you're going to tank, it doesn't make any sense, because, why are you tanking for the next regime, meaning a GM? So that, again, doesn't make any sense. Love's play needs to improve. He's been one of the worst safeties in the NFL right now, and it's been a disappointment because the safety position, we were hyping him up. Xavier McKinney's second-round pick out of Alabama. He's got a broken foot. He's on IR. David Mayo, actually, I'm pretty sure is expected to come back this week. So we'll see what happens with that. Hopefully he does, because I don't want to see any more of Devontae Downs. I'll get to that in a minute. But, everybody was hyping, the safety core, especially now that Jamal Adams is out of New York. Do we have the best safety core in New York, New Jersey? It hasn't been that. Jabril Peppers, he hasn't made his impact plays. I don't know if he's being used correctly or not. They just haven't. They've been disappointing. And, I might be mumbling and stumbling over words, but, if you're a Giants fan, you were expecting the safety core to be something. It hasn't been. The cornerback position, it's been somewhat expected. Bradbury, he's doing a good job. You're looking and you're drowning at cornerback too. Ballantyne, it looks like his starting time for the Giants is over. He's probably, in my opinion, he probably is going to get cut after the season. Just my opinion, because, it's going to be running on 3 years, and what are you going to do with him? It doesn't make a lot of sense. Same thing with Isaac Yiadom. That's a bust of a, draft pick when you're throwing it in the mix for a cornerback that's rotational. He can't even do anything on the field. Again, I never necessarily agreed with that trade in the first place, because you're literally, forcing yourself. Okay, we don't have corner depth, so let's trade for a guy and make him an immediate roster impact or immediate roster make it. And we got 3 days left of training camp. That just doesn't make any sense. That doesn't. It's my opinion, at least. Stick Crowder out there more than Devontae Downs. Obviously, if you take a look at the snap counts, 58% for Tate Crowder. You look at Devontae Downs, if I could find him, 7% of snaps. He played 4 snaps defensively. So obviously, the coaches are favoring Crowder more. And he's shown some stuff. He really has. When it comes to run blocking, he still needs to shed blocks a little more, especially on blitzes, different sort of run plays when it comes to the outside, when it comes to the inside, whatever. But he's definitely shown some promise. For right now, obviously, 7th round picks aren't necessarily touted as the highest of value, but I would definitely stick him out there more than Devontae Downs, someone who can't shed a block, someone who can't tackle, missed an open field tackle. I forget who it was against. Meaning receiver-wise, it was in the Rams game. But again, what can I say? Do I still think it's a mistake that Connolly was let go by the Giants and they didn't sign him back? They didn't make an attempt. Well, not necessarily they didn't make an attempt. I should reword that a little bit, but they should have. I don't know. I'm just stumbling over words at this point because I'm holding a little bit back from that trade. Not trade, but when they cut him. But at the same time, if Tate Crowder works out, that will be a dandy. That would be a dandy. So I'm going to read through the snap counts to, finally just cut off this episode. At the end, I'll probably have some time for questions as well. If you guys are offering that or you just, guests and you just came here for the podcast, thank you very much. But let's go through the snap counts. Zeitler, Thomas, Hernandez, Gates, those guys played 100%. Same with Jones. Slayton, 97% with 66 snaps. Now, the offense got 68 snaps, so those are the 100%. 57 snaps and 84% for Evan Ingram. He's been a clear disappointment this season. Makes me think that the Giants will trade him at the deadline. I hope they do, honestly. I've gotten tired of him. 56 snaps for Cam Fleming at right tackle, 82%. Golden Tate at wide receiver, 51 snaps, 75%. He's been another disappointment unless they haven't been using him correctly. Devonta Freeman, he got more snaps. He's been, really something. You could see the elusiveness in him and, the grinding for more yards, unlike Saquon Barkley. And I'm not ripping Saquon, but it's something he needs to get better at. You can't be just wobbling and jumping around for more yards. Meanwhile, you're going to be putting your team back in position for like a -5 yard gain. Meanwhile, you can get a -1 yard gain and, save your team that way. But anyway, CJ Board, 32 snaps, 47%. Damian Ratley, 43% at 29 snaps. Caden Smith, 24 snaps, 35%. Dion Lewis, 21 snaps, 31%. Matt Parrott, 12 snaps, 18%. Levine Toilolo, the third tight end, 11 snaps, 16%. Wayne Gallman, 10 snaps, 15%. He had a good 26-yard run, and, that's why I like him a lot. 1% of snaps for Shane Lemieux and Eli Penny. That's 1 snap total. Excuse me. I apologize. I've had a very tough day in school. Honestly. For defensive snaps, Leonard Williams, 38%. Sorry, not 38%. 38 snaps, 67%. Tate Crowder, 33 snaps, 58%. Darnay Holmes, he had 58%, 33 snaps, but I actually forgot to go back to the other snaps because if you look at the paper that I printed out, and this is from GiantsWire.com, they kind of distorted the whole thing, so it's really tough to tell. But James Bradbury, 57 defensive snaps, 100%. Same with Logan Ryan, Blake Martinez as well. I'm surprised Logan Ryan played every down. Lorenzo Carter, 81% of the snaps, 46 snaps. Tomlinson as the nose tackle, 79%. 45 snaps, 43 snaps for Adrian Colbert, 75%, which is really weird. I really don't like him that much, if I'm going to be honest. Dexter Lawrence, the defensive end, as they call it, or, defensive interior. 42 snaps, 74%. 74% as I mentioned. Same thing with Ryan Lewis. Same thing with Kyle Fackrell. Leonard Williams I mentioned. Tate Crowder I mentioned. Holmes, I mentioned. O'Shane Ximines, 33%, 19 snaps, which is really interesting. I don't know if I know he was injured at the end, but I don't see him in the beginning. They've utilized more of him than they have, Golden at some points in the game, but Fackel's been utilized more than Ximines. Julian Love, 30% of the snaps. That's a telling tale. That is a telling tale right there. And I didn't even realize he had that many low snaps. That means Logan Ryan played more of free safety. That is not good. That is not good. And if Colbert played more of safety than him, boy, Giants must be down on Julian Love to fucking start the season. Holy shit. Isaac Yiadom, 15 snaps, 26%. BJ Hill, 15 snaps, 26%. Austin Johnson, only played 13 snaps, was a good impact. He got a sack, and he also got a forced fumble, so he had a good game. Marcus Golden, 7 snaps, 12%. Devontae Downs, 4 snaps, 7%. And Madre Harper, who actually, we signed from the Raiders practice squad this week, and everybody was just praising him. He's so athletic. Played 4% of the snaps, 2 snaps in total. And, it's not surprising there because he doesn't know the full playbook for the Giants. Obviously, maybe he gets more snaps. I don't know. Maybe they put him in more than Isaac Yiadom. If that happens, I will be happy as long as the production is better than Isaac Yiadom. So that's pretty much the end of the podcast episode. I'll probably be doing this again maybe on Thursday, maybe on Friday as well, because I'm probably going to be doing something on Friday. But also, I'd like to do the preview and everything and get hyped up. I might have Jordan come on here as well. We get views and, engagement that way. Thank you guys for supporting us. If you haven't already, go follow our social media pages at Big Blue in the Bronx, Twitter, Instagram. Subscribe to the YouTube channel, get notifications, press the bell. I love Sportscastr so far. I love the engagement. Hopefully, when I check this video, I got over 100 views. If I get 30 views, I'm good with that, honestly. Thank you to Quilt Lynn for 200 tickets. I think it's 200 tickets or 200 popcorn. Thank you to Janie for 100. I think it was whistle. Thank you. I have to, regulate those terms because I don't know Sportscastr that well. But thank you guys for the engagement. And, as I said before, when I was, talking to Louie about what teams Justin Wilson played for, I don't care if you're wrong. I don't care if you're right. The engagement, we get to talk. This is the whole point of doing this, more engagement and podcast episodes, that stuff. So this stream has ran for 50 minutes. Wow. That's a long time. But anyway, thank you guys. If you guys have any questions, I'll leave the next 2 minutes. If not, then we'll have a nice day.